6. You're watching and listening to Breakfast with Stephen and Anne.
Shall we take a look at today's newspaper front pages? In the Sunday Times this morning, the head of the country's biggest fire brigade says he expects to sack staff over racist and misogynistic behaviour.
The Observer says the first major free trade agreement signed by Britain after Brexit is a failure, as trade between the UK and Japan has actually fallen.
The Sunday Express says migrants are being housed in military homes, whilst 2,500 British veterans do not have a roof over their heads.
Sun on Sunday says Prince Andrew is furious after being told that his taxpayer-funded police guard is to be axed.
And finally, in the Daily Star this morning, MPs are going to experience a lavish 5-course meal over Christmas at the same price they were able to pay in 2021, and the Star calls it Sprout of Order. Well, they had to go with something, didn't they?
I can't get overly excited about that, to be perfectly honest, because everything's subsidised in the Commons anyway. But anyway, let us know what you think. Let's go through the papers this morning with radio legend David Hamilton. Well, someone's written in there, David. Have you been having words with people? Radio legend.
He's a radio legend.
No, it's actually legend.
Oh, I see.
But you're a bookend here.
The bookend, yeah. And broadcaster Claire Muldoon. Good morning to you. David, let's start with the Sunday Times, should we? And this fire chief who says he expects to sack workers for being racist and sexist.
Yes, can I say, first of all, Anne, you're looking very colourful this morning and very lovely, and you're looking lovely too, and Claire as well. What a lovely lineup.
Oh,
It is a
be
lovely
part of.
lineup. Thank you very much for pointing it out.
And I'm wearing my colourful tie,
Yes,
especially
you are.
for
That's
you.
lovely.
Look.
Yes, that's the sunrise on it almost. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Very nice.
A little bit of sunshine, which we need. Listen, front page of the Times today, as you said in the headlines there, the head of the London Fire Brigade has said that he will sack staff who are guilty of misogyny and racism. Apparently there are cases of sexual harassment and sexual assault, and he says that findings of review are horrifying and confidence and trust have been betrayed. So first the police, now the fire brigade. Honestly, who can we trust?
I know. Have you seen the cartoon on the front page of the Times? I think we've got a picture of it still. Have we? The cartoon on the front page of the Times, where you've got a 999 telephonist, an answerer, who's saying, have we got it? We're still looking for it. Yeah. Ah, there we are. She's saying, which service do you require? Racist, misogynist, or useless? Funny on the one hand, but absolutely damn terrible on the other, isn't it?
Absolutely damning. But I wonder who commissioned the report, because that was kept under the cupboard. I didn't hear anything of this. I didn't know any movements, any report that was being done.
Well, there was the case of a firefighter who took his own life, didn't he?
He did.
After claiming that he had been treated appallingly from a racist point of
Some
view.
of the evidence is horrendous. Apparently there was a noose in a locker.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely awful. It's disgusting.
I mean, there's no doubt
It's
he was
abhorrent.
bullied to death. And in the end, he, as I say, took his own life. And that may have started the inquiry. I don't know whether the inquiry had already started.
Yeah.
But it's uncovered
Is this
more cases.
UK-wide? Is this national?
It's not just one.
No, it's London.
Just one, is it?
Yeah, well, they were saying London Fire Brigade yesterday.
Right.
This was the issue. But I mean, obviously, that's a significant.
But it's all very well
Yeah.
for the fire chief to be saying he expects to sack. But I gather, if you read further into the story, there are a lot of firefighters who say, yeah, well, is he the guy to do this sort of... I mean, is he really going to be effective here? Because if an institution is institutionally racist or misogynist, don't you have to look to the people at the top?
Well, you do, because it's under their watch.
It's under their watch.
How did he know nothing about it? How has this been going on and he knows nothing? It is apparently an independent report, so as Claire says, we don't know who has instigated
But he's sort of setting out his stall already, saying, well, I will sack.
I said, well, why did he do it already?
Yeah.
I think there's generally been too much talk and too little action everywhere, hasn't there, in our lives recently? We've had a lot of people saying, I'm going to do this, and nothing ever happens.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it is so sad that it's yet another emergency service that's coming under, an absolute veil of criticism, really. That it's an institution that does great work. Look what they did for Grenfell. Look what they do on a daily basis.
We see them as absolute heroes, don't we?
Yes.
Well, it doesn't affect what they... It's the thing. It's one of those strange things. It doesn't affect what they do when they're out on the job. That's the thing.
But it's
how it's what's going on underneath.
We see as heroes shouldn't be.
I think that's the world, actually, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah.
I really, really, really do.
Meanwhile...
It happens in newsrooms, it happens everywhere.
Oh, it does. It does. In the Sunday Telegraph, Claire, the shock horror of thousands in 12-hour A&E waits every day, I've got to say, sadly, I'm not surprised by this at all.
Yeah, well, there's lots of cause and effect of the reasons why this is actually the case, but the clue for me is in the name. You shouldn't be going to A&E unless you've had an accident or it is an emergency. How you can wait for 12 hours in a hospital, in an A&E reception, if there's nothing really wrong with you? I mean, but this is the absolute...
But it's where else to go, and half the time you're being sent there.
Yes, you are, because you can't get a GP appointment. We know this. This has been going on and on and on for so long now. The inability for you to be able to see a GP either face-to-face or on the phone, or even just get a call. And then you've got the 111. Everyone's told to phone 111, and they're triaged to say, well, default, go to A&E.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Of course,
because no one wants to take responsibility if someone does present with symptoms and then they die.
Of course,
because
they have
of the legality of it.
they have all these other services now, which are meant to be alternatives, like urgent care centres. There's one near me by the hospital, actually. But you go to
urgent care centre.
It's an urgent care centre. You don't go to A&E. Go to the urgent care centre, where you've still got to wait hours and hours and hours to see anyone.
But
I would like to know what these GPs are doing. They want to work shorter hours now, so the situation's going to get even worse. But you can't see a GP. I mean, what are they doing all day long?
I don't, but apparently getting very stressed.
They're getting paid over £100,000 a year. They don't want to see anybody.
We also hear that they're leaving in their droves because they feel this job is so stressful.
Well,
so what's going on? We don't understand fully, I think, do we? What's going on inside a GP surgery?
Well, we don't. I mean, I've never seen my GP. I mean, I'm actually having hospital treatment, as I told you before the show at the moment, and I go to Guildford Hospital, but I've never actually seen my GP, even with a situation like that. It's incredible, isn't it?
But again, I don't understand why, in terms of all my diabetes stuff that I have to have done every few months, whereas it was all done at the hospital, and I've got my specialist at the hospital and what have you, but now I have to have half of that done at the GP.
Yeah.
I don't understand why there's not a whole rollout, because the infrastructure for GP practices within the NHS is there. It can operate. There are some GP practices that you can see a GP. Thankfully, I'm one of them. My practice is super. But there's others that just don't seem to operate that way. I think we should have a guideline, serious guideline set out in terms of infrastructure, that if you have your telephone appointments in the morning or you see patients in the afternoon. Now, the GP practices should be in the community. You know, are we gone? Is it gone days now where they don't know the whole family? They don't know.
Family doctor's gone.
It's just that, but that's such a shame. Perhaps we should be getting back to that.
Well, you still fill in the forms, don't you? Say who's your GP. I know what the practice is, but I haven't got a specific.
I think
GP.
the answer is that there are too many people and not enough doctors, and it's as simple as that. You know, they're just
There seem to be a lot of administrators as well, don't there?
Yes, too many administrators.
Right, let's move on to the migrant crisis then, in the Sunday Express there. It's quite a shocking headline that migrants are being housed in homes, in military homes, whilst 2,500 British veterans stay homeless.
That's absolutely it, and that is the story. Hundreds of military homes have been set aside for migrants, while at least 2,500 British veterans don't have a roof over their heads. Obviously, they're running out of hotels, and while troops are on the move, while they're moving around, migrants are being moved into their accommodation. I was in one seaside resort just recently doing an event at a hotel, and the manager of the hotel said to me, there are now 5 hotels in this town that are full of Albanians. So, because it's very tempting, isn't it? When you think of seaside resorts, not many people are going there during the winter. So somebody says to the hotel, look, we'll fill you up with Albanians for...
It's better than being empty.
Yes, better than being empty. It's very, very tempting, isn't it? Although I think on GBNEWS the other day we saw somebody, didn't we, who has absolutely resisted it. He said, no, I'm not going to do it. Was that in Skegness, I think, or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, you can see the temptation from their point of view. But you've got to say, when we have got homeless veterans and we're doing nothing for them.
We've got homeless families.
Well, yeah.
Yes.
But
these are military homes.
Military homes.
I gather at least half of them are the ones that they deliberately keep vacant because the military is always moving.
Yeah.
So you have to keep accommodation empty because there's always a workforce moving. But not all of the homes. And some of them surely should be prioritising military vets.
Well, lots of people are being turfed out of their... we had a story recently, didn't we, about nurses who are being turfed out of their homes so that migrants can move in there. So it's a huge
We've got to get a grip on this migrant
And once
crisis.
again, everybra's been saying about this crisis, the immigration crisis, what they're going to do about it. You know, first of all, Priti Patel, now...
Suella Braverman.
Yeah, but everybody says something, but nobody actually does anything.
Nothing seems to ever happen.
Because the language used is often very difficult as well for people to comprehend the actual socio-economic, geopolitical actions that have to be taken. You've got one tranche of people who say this is right and this is wrong. And we can't, the difficulty that we have is we shouldn't and we can't other people. You know, we can't do others or whataboutery. We need to deal with what we've got. And whilst it's appalling that veterans that have fought for this country, put their lives on the line, have signed up to do a job and do a job very well, that they cannot be housed. It's ridiculous. That is appalling. But at the cost of something else. That's the real problem.
What about the homeless people in this country who you see, you know, on street corners and outside shops? They have nowhere to go. Wouldn't they love to stay in a hotel?
Well, exactly.
And have some accommodation?
Well, I think we interviewed people just the other day. Was it Blackpool?
Blackpool,
We were interviewing somebody on the street, and meanwhile the hotel behind him is full of migrants.
Yeah.
Whether they were legal or illegal, I don't know. But nevertheless, he was sleeping on the street, and he couldn't quite believe
Well, I've worked in a few homeless shelters, and a lot of the men, it's predominantly men who are on the street, don't actually... They're too physically or mentally gone to actually want strict accommodation. So what they will do is they will drop in to centres where they will be given help. But the major problem, I think, is families that are in temporary accommodation that have been evicted, and they're the real souls, they're the real people that have to be helped here, on top of everyone else. You know, the homeless people sleeping on the streets are there almost by choice sometimes.
Ooh. I don't know.
They need more help. I agree with you that a lot of them wouldn't want to have permanent accommodation.
No one wants to be.
But neither do they engage particularly well with a proper, what we would call proper accommodation. So there need to be specialist centres that allow them to drop in and drop out,
and which there are.
Which the charities run more than.
Yes. Shelter, you know, and
places with hot soup, hot food, and
a shave and clean clothes.
But you've got to take a macro view of all of this and just say we cannot we can't be dealing with all these migrants whilst we have these problems of British people, and particular, you say families.
Yes.
I'm with you on this, saying, well
don't
people
you look after your own first? You look after your own people
Charity
first.
begins at home.
Yeah.
Charity begins at home.
Yeah.
I think there's an argument for that. Anyway, controversial. Let us know what you think. Meanwhile, what could be the biggest story of the day in the Sunday People, Claire? Cormageddon. We've got a curry crisis.
Huge story. I mean, it's obliterating everything else out of the thingy. Curry crisis. I don't know about you. What's your favourite takeaway? What's your favourite takeaway, David? What's your favourite takeaway?
Chicken tikka, I think.
Okay, so
chicken tikka would be high on my list.
Yep. Britain's favourite takeaway is, of course, the Indian, and I love a curry as well. But we've got a curry crisis. The cost of living devastates businesses. Now, the people have gone with this because of the curry awards either tonight or tomorrow. And Indian food and Bangladeshi food and Pakistani food, they all need a lot of herbs and spices, so that's why they're concentrating on these types of restaurants.
And the price of that is going up
by 30%. So what some owners of the Indian restaurants have tried to do is increase their prices by 15%, but people are turning away because we don't have the money to go out as we did and spend money on restaurant food. So there's been a third of Indian restaurants closed nationwide, and that's very, very sad. And what he is saying, what this chap here is, curry houses are feeling the heat and may soon close at the rate of one a day, an expert fears. And this is Geoffrey Alley, whose family founded the British Curry Awards, said 3,000 restaurants have closed since 2007. A quarter of all curry restaurants and takeaways.
Well, you see, that's worrying. I do like a curry.
And a curry hasn't
I like a balti.
It's become the balti is now the British dish, isn't it?
I love a balti.
Or the tikka masala, I think. Well, the best curries you can get are in Glasgow, I have to say.
Oh, no.
They really are.
aren't
You know,
They really are.
King's Heath in Birmingham.
No.
Oh, that's
No.
true. Well, it'll be interesting to see who wins the curry award
Oh, yes,
tonight.
it will.
Yeah,
Does it?
that's something you can get stuck into. Please, gbviews@gbnews.uk.
we've
Where
got
do
to
you get
leave
the
it-
best curry in
Yeah.
Britain?
We've got to leave it there for now. David and Claire, thank you both very much
Thank
indeed.
you.
See you a little bit later on.